In a world that can be ridiculously confusing sometimes, you only wish you could ask a question to somebody who knew the answer. If only there was a nearly famous motivational DJ dude. All right, that's enough of that stuff. All right, so I've had this idea for a long time for Daily Boost Premium members that I wanted to answer your questions with my voice, and I can't type everything out because it's a lot. And it's kind of ponderous for me to send you an email saying, hey, what can I say to you? So instead, I decided to poach our Facebook page at dailyboostpremium.com, and particularly one particular thread, if you will, and answer your questions on that thread and give you a little bit more cardio time with the podcast. How are you doing today? It's me, Scott. Good to have you. Have a little bit of fun. Why not? If you can't have fun, then why do it? I break the rules on a regular basis. If you were on my Boost coaching call last week, we came to the agreement that if I've done anything really well, I change a lot. I break the rules really well. And it's funny because these guys and ladies and just people there, they've seen me for a long time, and they've seen my story. And I said, how many times have I changed? And I think it was Wayne who held up his hand. He said 3 times. I said, just 3? I'm really good at doing that, changing that. So I changed today. I add something. Look, I'm basically packing the parachute as I jump out of the airplane. Right? Just doing the show. Let's go. Let's have some fun. So we had some fun yesterday on Facebook, dailyboostpodcast.com/Facebook. And I posted, hey, I'm doing the shows tomorrow. And in being Scott, I just sat back and let things happen, and had some really good questions happen. And then I got up in the morning. I said, well, I don't want to do any of that stuff. I have my own ideas. So I thought, okay, that's not fair to go ask you to give me some ideas and then not answer your questions. So okay, why not? The wife is out for the morning. I'll be off after this for the weekend and out of town for a week. Let's go ahead and do another podcast. Just start it just like that and add it to the premium feed and make you super duper happy. So if you want to, we'll probably formalize this a little bit later on. But for today, we'll just steal from Facebook, my Facebook group, and your questions. So the first question coming off, this is the feed that if you see my beard picture, my latest 7-week update on my beard, it's the thread that came down after that because I asked for suggestions for the shows. And you guys are awesome. But the first question Jessica had, and this is probably the most important question I've had all week long, are you using a beard oil? Well, Jessica, yes, I am. And a balm and a conditioner. I have a brush and I have a comb just for my beard. It's pretty fun figuring out what works. Jessica is dominating the feed. She had another question as well. I have a friend who's starting a podcast. Can you talk about feeling confident with your own voice? Getting past the insecurities that may stop a person from speaking as a profession. Not a clue. I have no experience in that world. Now, you know what? Here's the thing. I have a couple of rules here. I guess I could probably go on and on and on for this, but here's the rule about the podcast. You can only be confident in your own voice if you actually understand what your voice is. In other words, whatever you're going to talk about, whatever content is there, and this works not just for podcasts, but for anything. You're only going to be confident if you actually really, truly, in your deepest heart and soul, understand. I have a rule here. If I don't understand truly what I'm talking about, even this question here, if I don't understand it, I won't talk about it. If I don't walk my talk, if it hasn't been in my life, if I haven't formed an opinion that I can give you, I do not talk about it. So tell your friend that. First off, the confidence will come from what you know. Now, I don't know if you're talking about the vocal tones in your voice or not, but quickly, it takes time to get used to hearing yourself because when we speak, our volume goes out. We don't hear it, our voice, the way other people hear our voice. As it goes away from us and what we hear is kind of bouncing off all the walls and coming back in through our ears and our bones, it sounds different. So when you first start doing it, you're going to overcompensate a little bit because it sounds weird. So you wear headsets, which sound weird, but eventually you learn what you sound like, and now it's very natural. So if that's what you're asking, fine. Getting past the insecurities that a person may stop them from speaking as a profession. Here's the thing. We're all nervous. We all have, imposter syndrome. We all do. But if you go back to rule number 1, I just told you, really know what you're talking about. Really know and make it actionable for people. Because that's all people want. And probably the insecurity part is this. Remember, when you speak, the audience is not waiting for you to fail. They're not. Everybody wants you to be, if you're a comedian, they want you to be funny. They want you to make them laugh. If they have come into the room and they're sitting there, even if they were forced to come in the room, they want you to succeed. Okay, let's see what you got. Bring it. So the way to do it is to bring in stuff that A, you know really well, and B, audience first. I say here in the podcast all the time, first thing I have to do is deliver a positive boost. The second thing I have to do is give you something that really can benefit your life, a strategy you can work with. And thirdly, entertain you, have some fun, words, wisdom, wisecracks, that whole thing. If I keep it in that order, if I do the first 2, I've kind of earned the right to have some fun. And you give me that. But I just came on and goofed off all the time. You wouldn't give me that ability. right? Okay, enough of that stuff. By the way, yay, another podcast. That's all we need. Another million. Do you know we had over 1 million podcasts launch during the pandemic? All in California, I'm sure. Yeah, they all became life coaches too. 1 million podcasts. Do you know at this point, 87% of those podcasts that have launched have completely gone away? And we now have, I think it's only about 200,000 podcasts in the world that have released an episode in the past 90 days. There's a lot of noise out there, and that's so good luck with that. I'm just so happy. Jim Levesque says, man, you've been reading my mind for 16 years. I think one of the comments was, did I miss that comment about Scott being telepathic? I think that's what it was. Let me make sure I have all the comments here. I might have missed a couple of them. No, it's there. Anyway, Jim has been a guy for a long time about reading my mind for 16 years. I really have. I do read your minds. People, this is a really common thing. Scott, are you talking to me? How do you know? I said, well, actually what's happening is that, I'm hanging outside your house. I'm looking, I'm listening. No, it's not that. I'm human. So here's the thing. When I do a podcast, and I do this with anything in business, I ask a question on Friday. How do I want to feel? When I do a podcast, and probably one of the biggest questions I get as well is, how do you keep coming up with content? Now, that's easy because life is big. There's a lot of stuff happening. But honestly, what I do is I sit back and I sit down in my chair and I lean back a little bit and I go, okay, what do they need this week? What do they need this week? And then I start writing. And then I start talking. That's how I do it. Courtney. Hey, Scott, I'd love to hear your thoughts on overcoming imposter syndrome. Be real. Know your stuff. I mean, we all feel like an imposter. I feel like an imposter right now. You have no idea. There's a couple of days this week that I literally am laying in bed going, what the hell do I know? Honest to God, it's that way. Sometimes I'm like that because, I do the podcast. We have so many tens of thousands of people, but very few interactions, really, relatively speaking. And so it's not uncommon for me to go a week or two sometimes and hear nothing good. And then to go to iTunes and find somebody says, it'd be a great podcast if you didn't have that 90s news music. It's not 90s and it's not news music. It's zoomy. It's only the beginning of the end. Seriously, come on. Okay. Yeah, imposter syndrome, we all feel that way. But remember, until you're pretty much an imposter, aren't you? So just jump in and go. Just get over it. That's a hard one to answer. I will say this. Everybody feels like an imposter at some point. Until you don't, and you get the swagger. I'll stop there. Emma, I'm new to the podcast, and I listen when I'm on the road. It's great to have a short dose of positivity, and it always gives me something to think about. Being a menopausal woman, though, I do have a better beard than you. Ha, 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 ha. Emma, I checked your picture. I don't think you do. Yeah. Listen, I'm not one of those guys that's got the biggest beard in the world. I actually, for years, I thought I couldn't grow a beard. And so, but I don't grow a beard in 5 days. To me, it's a big deal. But more importantly, you want the inside scoop? Can I share it with you? Because I know listen, beard's nothing until you start to grow one. But here's what happened. And I'll give you the inside scoop with this because I have been my entire life a very good looking, if I do say so myself. I mean, I was on TV. I did some modeling stuff very early on. I always had, the joke was you have a look for radio. I had a look for TV. I'm a good looking boy, as people would say. And it worked out pretty well over time. And so I got used to that. A good hair, and a nice smile. Just saying. Not the best looking guy on the planet, but, decent looking guy. And as I got older, because as we've said before, beauty is such great tyranny. Eventually it does go away. It does. And I always thought that when I turned 40, that I would hit my role. I would suddenly, when I got 40, that would be it. I wouldn't have the boy look that I would have. I would look like a man when I got to be 40. And I'd look like a man, but not a man. I mean, it wasn't like a Navy SEAL type of man. Even not today. I'm not that Navy SEAL kind of man. But I thought, I turned 40, that's going to work out. And it didn't. There you go. When I turned 50, it's going to be a man. I looked at 50, my 50th birthday party. I looked like I was 18. It's crazy. So I thought, all right. And then suddenly I thought, well, maybe when I'm 60. And it happened. But I made this big quantum jump. I went from being the young guy to being the old guy. I was, all right, that kind of... So where was the middle ground? So I like to walk my talk. I like to be honest about it. And I said, well, I'm in the entertainment business, so I have been known to color my hair from time to time to fight off the gray. I'll be honest about that. But I get tired of doing it. Plus, it's not real healthy for me. And I said, stop it. And yet it's hard to do when every picture you have is nice hair and brown hair and the whole thing. And I thought, let's make a change. So one day, a wild hair, and I was on vacation, and my son-in-law said, "Hey, you should grow a beard." And I said, "Yeah, it gets itchy. I shave it off every time I try." He goes, "Get some beard oil, dude. Yeah, some beard oil. You rub it up in there and get some balm and get yourself a brush and just, yeah, dude, grow a beard. It's awesome." And it really did say it like that. And so I did. I stopped shaving. And I have to tell you, it's been a while. It's interesting. But the real reason and the thing that's coming out as I go off to podcast movement and some of these conventions where everybody I'm hanging out with people that are 30 and 40 years old. I have the energy they do. I'm smarter than most of those folks. I move faster. I've had far more success than almost all of them, yet I'm not young. So now I said, let's change my image. Let's see if I can do it. Let's go ahead and bring the gray out. Let's bring the white on the beard out. Let's grow a beard. Let's keep it nice and tight and pretty. Let's grow the hair out a little bit. Let's go cool. Let's get back to who Scott likes to be, but be different. And like anything else, and including me, who likes to make changes and is very easily can make a change, I had to kind of hold my breath. I really did. I had to like, okay, let's see what happens. And it took a little bit of time. But actually this morning, I will tell you, that actually happened twice in the past 24 hours. I randomly asked my wife, I said, you sure you like it? She goes, yeah, I love it. I mean, Joy doesn't say that. She really likes the look of it because now she is the man she's always wanted. The nice, soft, good-looking boy underneath and the raggedy guy on the outside. It's awesome stuff. All right. I do want to see your beard, Emma. I think the picture I looked at, you weren't growing it out. So she'd like a session. This is a session, evidently, on being 50-something in a workplace when all your colleagues are 30 years younger. I know what I bring to the table, but I want to feel relevant. You're not going to feel relevant among 20 and 30-year-olds. It's just not going to, they don't even see you. Are you kidding me? You are relevant. You bring things to the table. I have no idea what you do, but I'm saying this. You're not going to be them. All you can just be is the cooler, older version of them. You can lead them. You can teach them, but they're kids. You know, the kids don't get smart till they're 28 or 29. It just and frankly, to be honest with you, adults don't really see you as an adult until you're 29, 28 years old in that area. They see you when you finally step into the world, when you get a real job. And I deal with a lot of 28-year-olds in the marketing and the advertising we do with the podcast. Most of those folks are pretty young. I have mad respect for them because they're getting going with their careers. You know, most are living in apartments. They don't own much yet. They're kind of working on it, and they're smart as hell. But you know what? They're finding their way. And that's what you have to do. So anytime you're around younger people and you're interacting with them, you want to hold your own as you do, but you want to be a leader. Don't let anything get to you. Don't let them get under your skin. You're not 20, you're not 30, you're 50. So act like it. Just kind of go with the flow. I know it's hard to do sometimes. Listen, I'm a guy who, like I said, I very much hang out with the younger crowd. I do not know what to do with older people. My doctor and I talked about that the other day. We don't know what to do about it. He's 61. Looks great. He's big muscles and everything. He said, all my friends are 15 years younger. Mine too. I don't have a lot of friends. I don't have any friends who are in their 60s. Why? Because I look at them and I'm like, that's not me. Even though I look in the mirror and yeah, I'm kind of getting there. But it's not how I relate to it. So I don't do that. I making a joke on the podcast last week about, or is it this week? I don't remember. Because I recorded this show last, but it's going to go out first. Kind of confused now. Yeah, my last class reunion I went to, and I've been to a lot of class reunions, and these people they're all my age. They're all, 59, no, and probably older than that now, 61, I guess, in that area, 61, 62, something like that. And last time I went, they were just boring old farts. And the room was filled with my mom and dad. And I didn't quite know what to do with it. I thought, well, don't do anything with it. And it wasn't that I wanted them to act younger, but I just wanted them to be who they used to be. But after 40 years of working, bureaucrats in Washington, D.C., many of them, careerists, they weren't happy. And I said, I don't know. I still don't know if I'm going to go. Although if the beard comes in well, it may be a good flaunting occasion. All right, so what's the other thing here? Autumn. I'd love to hear your thoughts on how not to be dragged down by the negative Nancys of the world. Get rid of them. Get rid of them. That's bottom line. Now, and you can do that. I mean, some people are negative and it just happens. Some people sound negative, but they're not really. They're positive. For the most part, if these people are, if they're not family, if they're not your boss, you can just get rid of them. And I really, truly mean that. I am at the point now where I run into somebody negative, and I don't run into them often. I don't attract that kind of energy. But every now and then I do. I get somebody who's negative, or I get with a group of people, mostly the conversations get negative, and I'm like, I start wondering what's happening. And what I recognize is I just don't know that in my life, and I will walk away. I'm not even nice about it. I'm a nice guy. I will usually wait for the appropriate opening to leave and usually say the right thing, keep the door open, be a good, nice guy. I never want to, I'm too nice in many cases. When it comes to negative people spewing negative crap, I just walk away. So what happens to those people that are in that category, that they're not really that important in your life, but what are you doing? What are you walking away for? I just say, I don't do negative. Oh, we're just having some fun. That's okay. Have some fun. It's not my kind of fun. I don't do negative. And I just try to avoid it. But now what I've done is when I do that, I'm honest about, not mean about it, but just, I will be honest. And usually I don't have to say anything, but the message has been sent. And when I run into those people again, I go around them. I just do it because, the people that are negative in the world, they're going to be negative. They're going to be the hardest ones to get rid of. So what if it's family and friends? Now, usually the context of this comes up that, it's, you can't toss them out. It's kids, things like that. This is why I ask the question, how do I want to feel on a Friday? Again, you control how it works. But you can also say, why are you so negative? You can ask them that question. But beyond that, you can say, I don't like negativity. You're being negative. This is done. When you can be nice, come back and talk again. Now, sometimes you have to do that. I have done that with people. I've done it with my wife, who's the most joyful person in the world. I'll say, what have you been so negative for? Why are you doing that? Oh, it's been a bad day. Well, stop it. I don't need that. And I'll say that. And what ends up happening is that eventually people learn the rules, they learn the boundaries, and you don't have to put up with it anymore because they change. So what happens if it goes, let me get into something even a little bit deeper here. A lot of times when you're going through personal growth, these people that you have with you, they're not necessarily being negative, but they are stuck in a place, and you're stuck in a place, and now you're moving out of the place, and they're uncomfortable with the fact you're moving out of the place. It's not good. And you're going to leave them. And I mean this even in case of relationships. It's a long road. If you have a relationship, you're married or something like that, it's a long road. I never advise doing that, but it's a long road to figure that out. But eventually, the writing is on the wall. If they won't change, if you can't progress, if you can't do what you want to do, if you're being held back at work, eventually you're going to have to leave. You're going to have to make the change. It's crazy, isn't it? I have a friend right now who's being held back at work, and he is becoming negative, and people around him are becoming negative. He's being held back. Why? Because he does his job so well, they don't want to promote him. Just know this. It's how you perceive it. It's your choice to be around it or not be around it. It's your choice how you respond to it. And do you have the will, the free will? You have the free will. Do you have the discipline to deal with it in the moment, or just walk away from it? Just isolate yourself from it. Do you have that discipline? Because ultimately it is completely up to you, as everything else in life is. Okay, 20 minutes is good enough, huh? So we'll do this again. If you like this, hit me up on the Facebook page, dailyboostpodcast.com/Facebook. You can send me a note, Scott@motivationtomove.com if you like it. Let me know, and we'll continue, and we'll see what happens here. But this is fun to do. This is kind of a words, wisdom, and a wisecrack show in a very oddball way, but fun to do too. Send me your questions. We'll do it again. I'll see you next time. Bye.